Okay, so I'd like to add some bounce to our buttons. So go to the options view. Now notice when I tap on these buttons, nothing really happens. So I'd like to have like a little bounce effect when I tap on these buttons. So let's do the following. So first of all, let's fold the options view. And right below it, let's create struct select button view. And it's going to accept an option, which will be of type int, a state variable. So I'm going to call this selected option, which will be an integer, but actually I want it to be an optional integer because sometimes nothing is selected. And let's actually add var body just to keep it quiet and text. So it's not implemented yet. And let's add some computed properties. So var is selected will be of type Boolean. So if the selected option is equal to the option, then is selected is true. Let's add yet another computed property, scale, which will be of type CGFloat. So if we've selected, then I want to scale up to 1.2, otherwise 1.0. But we're going to want to bounce back. We'll see that. And also, if we're selected, I want to generate a random color. So currently the color is purple, and I'd like to change the color. So is selected. Let's use .green .opacity 0.7. Otherwise, let's use .purple .opacity 0.7. Now this is not a random color. I want a random color right over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press brackets. So now this is an array, but I want a random element in this array. And I want more elements in this array. So what I'm going to do is dot random element. And we need string interpolation here. Not string interpolation, nil coalescing, because this might not return a value. So if this fails, although it shouldn't, let's just be green. Now this is not very random, right? So let's add some more colors. Let's say .red. I'm not going to add any opacity to it. Let's say .blue with an opacity of 0.7 again. Or let's do 0.5. And now we have our color. Now this is kind of ugly, but it does the job. And the thing is, we can just fold the code and then just everything looks clean. And we can think of these as black boxes. I'm going to unfold this though, in case you're watching the video and I went too fast. Okay, so if we're selected, just select a random element. Now it might have been cleaner to create just a function for this, right? Some function, get random color. Instead of writing this code, it's not exactly beautiful, but I just wanted to get it over with, and we can always clean up our code. It's not that it's so bad, but it could be nicer. It is getting a little bit hard to read. So like for this part, for instance, I could have just created a function, get random color, which returns a color, and that's it. I could write return over here, but since we have one line, I don't need return. And now the code up here is arguably cleaner, right? So if, like, we can actually read it, right? Let's try to read it. So if the color is selected, then let's use a random color. Otherwise, use purple, right? It's very clear. It's very clear. And down here we have some functionality. And like I said, at some point you might want to fold this code, Or maybe instead of having a function within select button, we could extend color in general, right? Just have it some in our extensions section. That would be even nicer. Okay, but this is really just a minor point here. But we should strive to, code cleanly. Okay, great. So now I want the bubble view. Now, let's just go back up to our options view. And we had this bubble view over here. And actually, let's just copy all of this code. Let's copy all of this code. And I'm going to delete it from the lazy vgrid. And let's replace the text with this code over here. Now we have this value. This value should be replaced by option. And let's replace value with option. And we cannot find the game model. So maybe we should add the game model, right? So cannot find game VM in scope. Let's go back way up here. So we have let game model in the options view. So let's add that to the select button view right below this over here. And now we're good. Now let's actually use the select button view. Let's actually use it up here in the options view. So first of all, let's get rid of this cheat color comment. Now select button. And I could change this value over here to option. And over here, let's just enter the game view model. Okay. And this should give us the exact functionality as we had before. The code's a little bit cleaner here, but I didn't just do this to, refactor the code. I also want to add an animation. So let's go back down to select button. And now we have this bubble view and a tap gesture. Now, first of all, let's apply a scale effect. A scale effect to the bubble view. And let's use the scale, right? We have some value called scale. Now, within the tap gesture, we want to do some animation. And I'm going to use a spring animation. So with animation, let's use that spring, and let's go down to duration, to response, and damping fraction. So and press Alt, Enter. For the response, let's use 0.3. For the damping fraction, I'll also use 0.3. And actually, let's apply another modifier. So I'm going to do dot repeat count. I'm going to repeat once. And auto reverses is true. And now we need to do something within this animation. So let's set selected option to be equal to the option. And let's see what happens if I click on 29. It gets bigger, right? But I want it to bounce back after some time. So what we'll do is we're still within the tap gesture. Let's do the following. Dispatch queue. Dot main dot async after. So the deadline will be just now plus say 0.1, and then we want to execute some code. So I want to animate the change with animation, and I want to remove our selection. In other words, let's set selected option to be nil. Okay, so there's some intense functionality here. There's some serious work. So let's click on this. Okay, it works pretty nice. The only thing that's really missing is a color, right? We said we want to apply some color here. So let's see. So let's go back up to the bubble view. You see this purple.opacity.0.7? Well, let's use color instead, right? We had color which was a random color if we select, and purple otherwise. Now we don't really see anything happening here, and that's because we currently haven't selected anything, so it's just purple. So if I click on this, it randomly became green, blue, I think. It's kind of fast. Red, blue. Okay, so that's pretty cool. And we could mess around with the duration. You know, we could try different values, right? Let's try. I kind of experimented. Let's try response 1. Okay, maybe that's a little bit nicer. Let's do 0.5. So it's just good to experiment. And let's try damping fraction 2. Yeah, not really impressive. Okay, I think that's good enough for now. Yeah, I think we have a nice effect. And if we play the game, okay, and now I just want to make one more change with the sync after. Maybe we'll delay a little bit longer, say 0.3. And I imagine we could, do some more work on the UI, but I'm pretty much satisfied at this point. So let's press Command R to run the game. And just test it out. Okay, it's all right. I think there is some room for improvement, but this is just a general idea. Okay, great. Have an amazing day and see you next time.